In this episode, I'm going to look at a really old transistor radio. This is a pocket radio. It has the marine band and the AM band. It's made by Channel Master. That was actually manufactured in Japan by Sanyo. Very old unit. Definitely not worth fixing, but hey, curious minds want to know what went wrong with this thing. Let's take a look. So check this unit out here. This is it's a Channel Master. It will pick up the broadcast and the low frequency marine band. So basically it will pick up from, I guess it's about 1.8 megahertz, so just over the AM broadcast band, and the other end of the band goes up to about 4.2, 4.3 megahertz. So broadcast and marine. This is a very old 8 transistor radio that was brought to me to take a look at, and apparently it doesn't work. So let's take it apart and see why it's not working. This antenna here, by the way, screws on the top. That's going to obviously be for the shortwave band, what they call the marine band. Here's the inner working of this old radio. So let's hook this thing up to power and see if we can get any sound out of it. I've got the battery pack with 4 batteries in it. First of all, we'll make sure that there's actually power on the battery terminals, which there is. So we have 6.28 volts. And first we'll just try connecting the battery pack and see if we get any noise or any sound whatsoever. This will give us an idea whether this thing's getting any power whatsoever. And I hear some sound. I hear some noise. Notice the speaker, it's a 7 ohm speaker. It says input 0.4 watts. So we can hear some sound. So that's indicating that power is getting to the unit. But we're not hearing any noise as far as it tuning. I must be missing something. There's got to be another screw in here. I just haven't seen it. Oh, you know what it is? It's going to be this piece right here. This large nut that the back screws on with. That's actually what's holding it down. Now it should lift out. There we go. There's the chassis coming out. It will disconnect this wire here that goes to the external antenna for now. We can put that back on later. That way I can swing the whole unit out. We can get a better look at the circuit board here. Here's the board. Oh, what a mess this is. Let's see if we can figure out why this thing's not working. So of course the first thing I have to look at something like this is to make sure that there's no cracks in the board. So I'm just going to apply power to it and crank the volume up full, so that if it does start putting out a signal, it'll scare the crap out of me. And we'll just gradually just flex the board a bit and see. This is an early circuit board design, one of the really earliest of them. I have another one that this is not my radio. This is a neighbor that brought me this one, and I have a Sony transistor 6 that was my grandmother's radio. That I will have to maybe look at someday and see if it works. That'd be another interesting piece of very old technology, 6 transistor AM radio. These old capacitors, they're probably all shot, but they might not be. Here's our volume control down here. Just going to see whether there's any sound down here at the volume control. We'll take the knob off so that I can actually access the terminals in behind, and we'll put the scope on it and see whether there's any sound. Getting to the volume control. If I try and inject some sound into here, which we can certainly do, let me just get an injection source, and we'll see if we can inject any sound in and see if the audio amplifier is working. So I can do this with just an audio source, or I can do it with my signal injector. Maybe we'll do it with the signal injector. Okay, so now I've got my audio generator here. As you can hear, the audio amplifier works. Give it a bit more level here. Volume control works obviously too. So now we know that the kids across the street are going to annoy me by playing hockey or something while I'm trying to record. So now we know that we have a signal. And for those of you out there that were concerned about my audio generator not putting out a nice true sine wave signal, it does actually put out a good sine wave signal if I put it into a 600 ohm load, which I have done. Okay, so now let's see if we can see where this signal is not or being lost. We know that the audio amplifier works, so we have to look back at the IF stage. Notice this, it's actually got a little dial string to change the tuning capacitor. Interesting. That's off. Okay, I heard some audio when I put my probe on this switch, so I think I'm in the right. Let me take a look at the scope here. I can hear audio very faintly in the background. So you can hear it, you can see it there. Sounds like sports. You know, back when I was a kid, we used to joke about anything made in Japan was junk, and I almost have to agree with that statement, because there's just bodged parts on, like stick resistors on the board, and you can't see anything underneath them. You want to check parts underneath it, and it's like, you know, I'm picking parts out of here, and wires that are all crunched together, and insulation that looks like it could be damaged. I'm just trying to find where I'm losing the signal here, and it's not the easiest thing to work on. So while I was busy there with the shot of the scope that you guys couldn't see what I was doing, what I was doing was I was injecting signal. This is the diode, and this is the other side. This is the feed that goes over to, there's a resistor there. That goes over to the volume control. And it comes from over here. I'm looking at this cap here, how it could be one of these capacitors. I'm thinking it's got to be an electrolytic that's going bad on this thing. Probably all of them. These things are all like 50 odd years old, right? I'm just going to try changing a capacitor here. These two big ones, I've just pulled them off the board. They're 30 microfarad. These two big gray ones here that were mounted right down here. One was here, where I just put this a 33 microfarad, and the other one was here. These are 30, so we're going to go up to 33. I want to show you something here on these. I just pulled them out. Camera was off. I didn't realize it, but it doesn't matter. ESR wise. Okay, that one looks to be probably okay. 10 ohms ESR. Take a look at this other one here. I know it's hard to see with the reflection there, but this one here is open completely. This cap is shot. I'm just going to just put this other one back in here. The original one is this one's testing okay. So where the heck did it go? Right down in the corner here. Just see whether we get any volume out of this thing now. Sure sounds a lot better than it did before, that's for sure. Let's see if we can just tune this thing up a bit.
Sanyo goes 2-0 this season with a 13, make that a 20-13 win. Down the field we go. Jackie has Doug Baldwin. Jackie, go ahead.
Thanks so much, guys. Doug Baldwin, the first time that we've seen substantial minutes from this offense.
Barcelona terror attack yesterday was Ian Wilson, the father of a Vancouver police officer. The emergency brought on by the interior wildfires has been extended again, a third time actually. Sale is on. So in addition to $1,000 a 5-day boat.
Being on Highway 1 between Quitlam and as we head out to the valley, looks like there's no slowdowns through the entire Surrey Lane, Abbotsford.
Jerry Goffin at the time.
We were best friends.
I'm pretty happy with that now. Oh, one thing I did find on the back side of this board here, this resistor here had popped off. This one right down here. That resistor had come unsoldered. That's why when I was pressing on the board it would kick in and out. I think I'm going to call this thing a day at this point and give this back to the guy that owns it. He just kind of brought it to me for sentimental reasons. He wanted to see whether we could get any sound out of it, so I'm not planning on spending any more time on this thing. I've spent enough time on it as it is. It was just kind of, it was one of those fun projects, right? That let you guys see some old vintage stuff and how bad some of this crap was. Some of this early transistor stuff, which is horrendous. All these wires, just ready to break, getting in the way. I'm going to now just put the shielding back on this thing, and we'll try and get it back together and see if it actually will work once I get it together. I don't know what year this radio would have been made, but it's got to be early 60s, I would think. To say the unit really has no value other than the fellow that owns this, he was telling me it was the first, he said it was the first transistor radio that he ever owned, so it's more of the sentimental value. As I was saying earlier, I've got an old Sony, mine's called the Transistor 6, and I'll haul that out sometime soon maybe, and just see whether that can be made to work. Just gotta figure out where the dial goes here. Now what this green insulator backing is for is it orients the two jacks so that they don't rotate and don't short out. The two jacks on there, one of them is a headphone external speaker which cuts off the speaker when you plug a jack in. The other one is just straight like a second earphone jack, so that you can plug two earphones in at the same time. Okay, just slip the board back into this thing. Gotta love these ones. Pain in the butt. Sony was very good at using these type of screws on a lot of their early products. Servicemen everywhere curse them, because magnetic or ferrous based screws were just so much easier to work with. These ones, I don't know if they're, I guess they're brass. Or Sony used to call it mu metal, M-U. Mu metal. Mu metal screws. This one looks like it's probably aluminum. But they just made it so much easier when you could just, use your iron magnetized screwdriver and just put the screws in and remove them. Okay, gotta reconnect the external antenna wire here. And then hopefully this thing still works. Because I don't feel like taking it apart again if it doesn't. Okay, that's the external antenna wire. Let's try it and see if it works. One last thing to put on here will be the band selector, which goes on like that. And there should be another screw for that here. I can find it. I guess this one right there. We want to see if this thing works. I know you guys are itching to figure this one out, aren't you? Volume, here we go.
I know you've mentioned your parents in the past. This is an event on Saturday to counter what the 17 have now lost 3 of their last 4 games. They're sitting in. Where did he Justin? I think it was solidarity from someone like Justin Britt, who's a leader in our locker room, and who's from a different part of America from me, but to be able to have that solidarity and to be able to have somebody.
There it is, the Channel Master AM and Marine Band radio. This thing's as old as the hills, and it once again is producing some sound. Kind of a neat old vintage piece. Totally not worth putting any effort into, but you know, to the owner of this is worth something. And now that he can.
What about Justin doing that? I think it was definitely, like I said, it was touching on the shoulder. Unity is something that's super important in solidarity, and I think a lot of people.
Thanks for watching. We'll catch you again real soon.